Hello, and welcome back to another episode of the Gemma and Rachael Let's Chat podcast. And this week we are bringing you the first instalment of our Dieter Dilemmas. Think of me and Gem like your agony aunts of the dieting world. We asked for your dilemmas, your questions, the topics you wanted us to cover, and you delivered. There are some spicy questions in here. So without further ado, you know the deal. Pop on your headphones, link up the Bluetooth, grab a brew, and let's chat. So Gem, we're going to be agony
Hiya.
aunts today.
Yay. Oh, I love
I
it.
so
I feel like I am an agony aunt most of the time.
I know. Just look at us as dear Deirdres of your world today. And I really love that we're bringing this to the podcast. We've talked about it for ages, and kind of
hmm
whether we were going to bring it into like episodes or do full episodes. And we've decided once a month we're going to do a Dieter Dilemmas. So this week we asked very last minute if we could have some of the dilemmas that you all have at the moment, and you delivered. So we are going to go through. All of these are anonymous, so
Mm.
please don't worry if you send anything in. We won't know who you are, but it means that we can try and help you out a little bit. So the first question that we have, Jem, and I'm going to put this
hmm
over to you,
Okay.
is about mother-in-laws. Mother-in-laws.
hmm
I'm lucky. I
hmm
love my mother-in-law, but she is a feeder, and so I can
hmm
relate somewhat to this. But question
hmm
is, hi Rach and Jem. How do you deal with opinionated mother-in-laws? Every time we go round, she's offering me food as I don't need to diet.
Yeah.
Oh, have we heard that before?
Oh, do you know what? Oh, yeah, we have. Sadly I haven't got my mother-in-law anymore, but she was
Oh,
also a feeder and she was a very good baker. And she didn't understand. She looked at me and said, "You're perfect, Jem. You don't need to lose any weight." It was exactly the same. She was never horrible, but very much just didn't understand it and didn't want
mm,
me to have to diet. Not just mother-in-law, it was friends and family. As I found actually
yeah.
friends were worse, if I'm honest. They didn't want me to diet, I think, because maybe they wouldn't have as much fun, or they didn't think they would have as much fun if I was out not
Mm,
drinking, or they felt guilty to eat in front of me. But there was a lot of comments to start with, and I actually used that as my motivation. I loved the fact that people didn't like it because I thought, well, I'm going to prove you wrong. I'm quite
yeah.
stubborn with things like that. And I thought, I'm going to prove the haters wrong. They're just uneducated. They don't know what this plan is.
hmm
I feel like I've got a plan. I knew that I was going to lose weight quickly and safely, which is how I chose to do it. That's how I wanted to do it. I was getting married. I had a goal. So I did that bit, and I knew if I did the bits afterwards and showed people that actually there is a way out, this isn't a fad diet, I'm going to do it properly. I used that. I think I was really strong with that part because I wanted to prove those people wrong because they had such strong opinions. You're going to die, basically. I was like,
Yeah.
I'm really not.
You're
Is that
gonna
safe? Is that safe?
I know. But
And
it's
I,
so funny, isn't it? Because nobody says anything whenever you're like, nobody said anything to me when I was eating a type of Ben and Jerry's a night with like a packet
I
of
know.
Haribo or something about, is that safe? And
Yeah,
actually, no, it wasn't. Um,
yeah.
and nobody said anything. But as soon as you do a plan, especially one like this, you do get
Mm.
everyone's
And
opinions
what's in
about it.
what's in those products? Is that safe? And I think, would you question what's in a McDonald's or in a Domino's? No, you just eat it, don't
No,
you? But I can guarantee
exactly.
there's a lot more nutrition in one of our shakes than there is a Domino's. So it was, yeah, I was very much use that as my ammo, use it as my motivation, and also explain to people when you're at a or when you're in a situation like that and somebody's arguing or trying to get you to come off plan, tell them genuinely how you feel and why you're doing this. I've had a lot of clients
hmm
say to their mother-in-laws or friends, I'm genuinely unhappy. I'm really unhappy with how I look and how I feel, and I'm not living my life. I feel quite depressed about my weight, and I want to change it. So can you just let me change it the way I want to change it? And they're like, "Oh, okay." And they tend to back off a bit if you're open and honest with them, and it's not just, oh, I just want to, lose a bit of weight for a holiday, or they kind of need to know the reason, I think, and that tends to stop the comments from my experience.
Yeah, you have to be honest with people. And I was the same. And I think
Mm,
sometimes it comes, and I've been guilty of this in the past, right? One of your friends goes on a diet, and then your instinct is to say, you don't need to diet. Like, you're beautiful
of
the way
course.
you are. Like, I think it
Yeah.
does come from like a loving place. But unless they know, like, actually, this is really bothering me, but we can
hmm
be afraid to say that because then by saying it, we're admitting it's a problem. And then there's a whole different like wave of opinions that could come our way. But the more that you try and treat plan like an illicit affair that
hmm
you don't want anyone to find out about, or you don't want people to know the reasons behind, then you're just going to constantly feel like you are battling people. You're going to constantly feel like
Yeah.
you're coming up against confrontation, where actually
hmm
if you just say to people, look, I'm not happy. I'm not healthy. I don't feel my best. I know this is going to work for me. I don't need any opinions. I just need support. And I appreciate
Hmm.
you may have your opinions, you may have the way in which you think things should be done, because we all have different opinions on things.
Yeah.
But this is just what I'm looking to do for myself at the moment. And then I was a lot
Hmm.
like you. I was kind of like, "Do you know what? I'm going to just let my results speak for themselves." Like, I
Yeah.
never felt the need to justify what I was doing. And I've never
Hmm.
been like, I've always been a people pleaser. I've never been someone really that puts my foot down.
Mm.
And so it was
Hmm.
very odd that actually when I started plan, I became so tunnel vision that not that I was going to lose weight. I became so tunnel vision in the goal of ending that cycle I'd been in for years and years and years and years and years
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
actually, if people asked me to do something, I would just say no. If, we went
Mm.
back to see Jamie's mother-in-law, Jamie's mother-in-law, my mum, like stills like my second mum. We went
Yeah.
back to see her. She treats that boy as if he is like 7 still. So we walk in the door and she's like, "Oh, I've got your stuff in the freezer." Now you might be
Oh,
thinking, what stuff does Jamie need in the freezer? Turkey dinos, potato waffles, almond magnums,
oh,
like
Jamie.
all of like a 7-year-old's favorite food, which is still his favorite food. Um,
Yeah.
and she must have asked me 20 times if I wanted something. Are you sure?
Yeah.
You can have something. Can you just have something on this plan? Just have a
But
little something. It'll be
it's that
fine.
host in them, isn't it? They're like, I've got to feed them. I want them to be happy. I
Yeah.
want to, yeah. And it's funny. Yeah.
And I ended up just laughing about it and making a joke out
Mm.
of it. And I was like, "You are a crazy feeder lady." I was like, "You need to sort yourself out. Like, calm down." And I was just like,
Yeah.
take myself off, make a cup of tea, or take something there. Like, if I ever find myself in those situations, I will always, and I get it with drinking. I got it when I stopped
Mm.
drinking booze as well. I would just take myself away from the conversation. And I'd be like, "Do you know
Hmm.
what? We don't even have to end the conversation, or whether it's I go to the loo or I go and
Yeah.
take the baby upstairs to change them, or I go and make a cup of tea, whatever it is, I'm just going to take myself away and let you guys
Hmm.
carry on. And I'm just going to carry on what I'm doing. Because I think the minute people think you doubt what you're doing, that
Hmm.
instinct to be like, you don't need to do it comes in.
Yeah.
And if they've
Yeah.
seen you diet, if you're anything like me, every other week of your whole life,
Yeah.
then they've also seen the cycle you put yourself through mentally, and they've seen how upset and like you can be on either a diet or after the fact. So
Hmm.
it is, I think, as well, and Jem, I know you speak about this a lot, like how you present the diet to people. Like if you
Hmm.
present this as a massively restrictive thing that isn't letting you do anything and that's taken away from you, why would people be
Mm.
supportive of that?
Exactly. And I totally understand that. And my language was definitely on the kind of, I used to say things like, oh, these products they're really nice, they're really convenient. I don't have to think about my food. I've got Finley's stuff because he was only a baby. So I had all his milk, his snacks, his nappies. And
Mm.
I just felt like it just fitted in perfectly. I was like, it's like the perfect diet for a mum. Like I haven't got to think about it. And they were like, okay, fair enough. But you do need to eat now though, because you're out. You need to eat something. I was like, I've got my dinner when I get home. And I had that, I suppose I had that step two, because I was having that meal, people seem to accept it a little bit more because they knew I was
Mm.
eating something. And I think, oh, the product is a meal replacement. It's got everything in it that I need. But it's all down to the language and how you talk about the plan. And if you're positive about it and how you're feeling, I do feel like people tend to take it a bit better. Um,
Yeah,
and
I
like you
think
say, learn to
so.
say no. You've just got to say no and be strong with it.
You really do. And honestly, the first time it will make you like completely cringe. You'll probably come out in a cold
Mm,
sweat and it will not feel nice. But the more that you do it and you put those boundaries in place, the more you will, one, build your self confidence, self belief that actually what you want matters and that you can go and get
hmm.
what you want. But also, people are going to stop questioning you because they're going to see that you are confident and strong in the decision that you're making. Like
Yeah.
people in our lives, families, they're like, they just want to be in everything. Like they're nosy. Like
Hmm.
I'm like it with my family. Like I want to know everything that you're doing and I'll probably have an opinion on it. But just because I have an
Hmm.
opinion on it doesn't mean that one, it's right, or two, you need to do anything with it. Like, and I think sometimes we need to detach ourselves from how much emphasis we put on families' opinions, which is hard because it's your family. Like we all want our family to be happy with what we're doing and the choices we're making. But also, you're an adult. Like, you
Mm,
don't need your mum or dad to sign off your school trip slips anymore. Like, you can do it yourself. So,
yeah.
I'm sure you've made worse decisions in life, especially in teenage years, than
Yeah.
choosing to do a diet. And if you do it from a good place, if you're using that support and emphasize that, I would say to people like, I've literally got someone who's supporting me one to one. Like Gem is right there for me.
Mm,
She's making sure that everything's okay medically. Head office have got a medical team that we can query anything with. She's checking in with me regularly. I'm having calls with her regularly. So all of a sudden, it wasn't me just deciding to go on like a starvation diet, which we know it
mm,
isn't, but that is people's perceptions of it. And it was instead going, no, look at everything I'm getting. Look, like the
mm,
products are fantastic. They're fully meal replacement products. Everything in them you could buy in Tesco. So
mhm,
there's nothing in there you need to worry about. Not like putting like drugs in my things or anything like that. Um,
mhm.
but also look at all the support and all of the help and mindset work that I'm doing alongside it. But again,
Yes.
sometimes I find people don't want to say about the consultant element of the plan because it's like they're embarrassed that they need that help or that
Mm,
support. But it's like, well, of course you do. Like, of course
everyone
you
does.
do. Like,
Mm,
until we just admit that you do need support, why would you need support in everything else in life but weight loss? Like, it makes no sense to
exactly.
me.
Yeah, exactly.
So I think that mother-in-laws are a pain and I love mine, but they, mother-in-law's friends, everyone can be, it can be difficult to manage those relationships.
Yeah.
But if I was to give you one bit of advice, it would be pull up your big girl pants. Remember,
Mhm.
you are the lady of this house and you can make your own decisions. Like you
Yes.
can do whatever you want. She's not going to disown you because you're eating a fruit and nut bar instead of a slice of cake. Like, trust me, if she is, you've
Exactly.
got deeper issues you need to work on, and we ain't the podcast
Yeah.
for that. Like,
Yeah.
we're not here, but we can't give advice that good advice. So we're not trained or skilled in any way.
No. But that was obviously a popular thing. 'Cause that question came up a lot, didn't it? Opinions of other people. So
Yeah.
I'm glad we covered that because that comes up a lot in my consultations as well.
Lots of, and yeah, it is a lot of like family and close friends. And
Mhm.
just before we move on, something that you said as well about when you go out and people feel like they're not maybe going to have as good a time. I think the other really
Mm,
important thing to remember is that whenever you're doing a plan like this and you maybe are putting boundaries in place with food and you're having your products and what have you, whenever you go out and you don't, say you've always gone out with your friend, you've always got a dessert at the end of dinner, and then now you go out and
mhm.
you're not having a dessert at the end of dinner, that can trigger a lot of emotions and feelings for the individual that isn't on plan as well. And
Yes,
I know
I
I've
agree.
been that individual when friends have been on diets, and then I felt like, well, I don't want to get a dessert. I don't want to be the only one seen to be getting a dessert because I don't want people to think that I'm the gluttonous big fat friend who's ordering
Mm,
dessert while everyone else isn't. And I think you do have to apply some of that to your approach because
mhm.
actually sometimes the reactions that you can get from friends and family and people is much more about their own insecurities and their own internal issues they're having than what you're
Mhm.
doing.
Yeah.
We've all got friends or family that enable us, right? To if you're out on the
Mhm.
booze, like you
Mhm.
get more drunk than normal, or if you go out for food, you indulge a bit more. And if you
Mhm.
suddenly are doing something that maybe halts that for a small period of time,
Yeah.
it can bring up a lot in that other person as well.
Mm. Yeah, I agree.
Like I've been the one saying you don't diet, don't do that just because I want to like order the chocolate sundae at the end of the menu.
Yes,
Like,
because you want to feel better, isn't it? And that's what you have to remember. It's not about you, it's about them, basically.
that's it. But you have to think about you. You're not going to get anywhere in
Mhm.
life trying to please everyone. It took me 33 years to figure this out. And
Yeah.
actually, only when you put in place boundaries with anything in your life are you going to be able to move forward. And like I said, if your relationship's more complex that you don't think you can have a conversation or anything terrible is going to happen, get a family therapist. It will do the world of
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
So the next question that we've got is it's one that I read, and I'm not going to be honest, like it tugged on my heart because I feel like I could so relate to this. So here we go.
Mhm.
Hi, Gem and Rach. Utopia seems like mending my relationship with food. But the truth is that while I want to maintain my weight loss, I also want to have some full on splurges where I can eat what I want. Is there room for both? Is it ever okay to overeat? Now, I this really stuck out to me because I think whenever I started the plan and I thought of what maintenance would look like, in my head, I imagined becoming, I don't know, a health guru. Like I thought suddenly I would be eating so well and I wouldn't have to think about it and it would just be so it would just come so naturally, right? And then it didn't happen quite like that. And it was really challenging. And that's a lot to do with the fact that for me, food was a major mental issue. Like I'm an emotional
Mm,
eater, I'm a sugar addict, I'm a food addict. I'd go as far as to say that that's how bad it can get. You don't get to nearly 22 stone at 5'2" by not having a problem with food, right?
mhm.
And it was only probably Jan, we've probably been talking this through between us for like 2 years. And 3 years
Yeah,
now I'm into maintenance. It's probably
yeah.
2.5 years, truth be told, where
Mhm.
I have been really struggling and I would go and have indulgent moments and I would still feel that pang, that like,
Yeah,
oh God, that I feel guilty. And then
yeah.
that would cause a whole mind spin because then I'd be like, but if I feel guilty, am I still in the diet cycle? Am I still putting myself through that
Mm,
cycle? I've worked so hard.
mm,
Um, and it took a long time of you shaking my head basically, and talking to me to understand that actually what it looks like post large weight loss, especially, is not this utopia of, do you know what it is? This word literally makes me want to cringe. Intuitive eating. I hate it.
mm,
I hate
mhm,
that. I hate
mm.
it.
You
And I
hear that
hate
a
it.
lot, don't you? There's a lot of content
Oh,
online with that. Mm.
do you know the worst part about it is it makes you feel like if you're not eating like that you are
Yeah.
either you have got an unhealthy relationship with food because you're restrictive, or you've got an unhealthy relationship with food because you don't know
Mm.
when to stop. It's
Yeah.
been this could be controversial, but you know what? That this is what dieting dilemmas is all about. I think it is marketed in such a way that it
Mhm.
makes you think that if I cannot listen to my body,
Mhm.
then there's something massively wrong with me and I've majorly
Yeah.
got disordered eating and it is all bad. But actually, the problem with the intuitive eating concept to me is that for somebody like me, it's not listening to my body when it's hungry. I can tell you when my body's hungry. It's my
Mhm.
mind hungry. I've got head hunger.
It's never actual hunger. It's head hunger, isn't it? We
No.
always say that.
And trying to control head hunger and cravings is a completely different
Mhm.
thing. And I think if you're somebody who is predisposed to maybe not know when to stop, or has got that emotional eating, food addiction, sugar rate, whatever it is,
Mhm.
then you're asking for trouble by not having some amount of boundaries or guardrails in your day-to-day life. That doesn't mean
Yeah.
like heavy restriction. And you do this really well because you kind of, well, tell us what you do because you do it brilliantly, but it's not
Um,
easy.
it's not easy, but I've just got into the swing of doing it for so long, and I've just had to push against my natural instinct, which is still to have a little binge every now and then. And I do still do it. I've told you many times I've now learned that mine happen the week before I'm due on. It's not the time, it's not when I'm due on, it's always the week before. I
Yeah,
am absolutely, genuinely ravenous. And I say to people, it's not even like I'm imagining it. I am physically hungry, like really hungry, and I want sweet stuff. I also want savoury. I'm quite a savoury. You're more sweet. I'm definitely more savoury. My thing is
yeah.
like bread, butter, pate. Like, I just love anything like that. But then
We love a
once I've
bit of
had that,
pate.
I love pate. Did you see how excited I was when they brought it to the
I know.
retreat?
I
I was like,
know.
oh my God, is that pate? But I don't have it in the house for that reason, because I cannot have one little bit of pate. Like, the only
Yeah.
time I really have that is that week before I'm due on, because it's my thing. I love it. And I think I do need it every now and then. And I do need chocolate, but I don't have the big family size bars of dairy milk in the house anymore, because I cannot just have one bit. And I'm still that same person. I wouldn't just have one bit, I'd eat the whole thing. But I do feel differently now, because I don't feel as guilty, because I've done it so many times. I know that the next day I just go back to normal again. But that took a
Hmm.
long time to get there. As you know, we're 11 and a half years in, and there's been a lot of guilt, a lot of worrying that I was never going to be able to do it. And there has been fluctuations in my weight. But again, every day is a learning curve. You have to experience these things to learn. And now I've got into a real nice swing of roughly 1,500 calories in the week, and then it allows me to have more treats at the weekend, because I can't be all week without anything. I can't be 100% restricted. I would rather restrict a little bit more when I'm busy, and that's just my personal choice, because I've got my routine Monday to Friday and I don't really have much time. I want ease. I miss the ease of the plan, basically. So I've kind of set myself my own sort of simple
Yeah, so you don't
easy
have to think about
plan.
it.
Just don't want to think
Like,
about it. I have the same things pretty much every day, but then I know I can eat what I want at the weekends, and that's why I do
yeah.
it like that. Because like that lady, I didn't want to not ever be able to have what I want. Do you know what I mean? And that's why I try and post about my thing is prosecco, roast dinners, pizza, meals out with my friends. I love it all, and I still love food, and I would never, I'll never change because I do love food, and I think we all do,
We
and
all
I
love it.
love the social side of it. It's a
It's such
lovely
a
thing, brings
beautiful
you
part of
together.
life.
I love
Yeah,
it,
like
and I enjoy it.
who doesn't love food? And I think that, but
Exactly.
this is where getting a good relationship with food, however that will look, is
Hmm.
not to do with what you're eating. It
No.
is to do with your mindset. It is doing with working with your mind and coming up with strategies and reworking old ways of thinking to understand that I can splurge and like really enjoy myself, but my foundations are that these are the guardrails I've got in place, like so
Yeah.
that I can, stick to it. In the same way with me, like we do not have biscuits in this house. Biscuits do not come in this house.
Yeah, we don't now
Very,
either.
no, dim biscuits. Very
Mhm.
rarely will we have fancy cereal. You know the ones I'm talking about, your
You know what? This
crunchy
is
nut
the same for us.
cornflakes.
Yeah, can't
Yeah,
have them.
can have them. Me and Jamie will demolish the whole box. So there's certain foods that I know just not to have in the house because quite frankly, I just can't be trusted with them. That does not
Mm,
mean I have got a disordered eating pattern around it. It's in the same way that an alcoholic doesn't fill their fridge with rosé and
hmm.
wine and all the rest of it because I know that those foods could cause me to overindulge, and that isn't the problem. What's the problem is I would then feel bad about it afterwards.
Yeah.
Whereas
Yeah.
if me and Jamie plan, oh, we're gonna get a tin can tonight. We're gonna get like like tin can for tea, and then we're gonna get like I don't know the new bar of Cadbury chocolate that's out, and we're gonna have
Hmm.
like a nice night watching a film.
Hmm.
I will thoroughly enjoy
Yeah.
that, let me tell
Me
you.
too.
But there'll be zero guilt because it's like
Yeah.
that I want to enjoy it. And even if,
Hmm.
like you're hormonal and then I end up eating more one day, again, it's not something I beat myself up over now because it's something where I know those foundations have been worked on so much through plan and through the steps. And my mindset has been worked on so much, working through why I use food, identifying what triggers there are. Like, you have to do that work in order to be able to manage your weight long term and manage your relationship with food. Like, you need to just forget everything else that's going on around you with food, nutrition. Because, like I said, there's stuff everywhere from every corner, opposing ideas, what you should, what you shouldn't do, and you just need to focus on yourself and having that accountability with somebody. Like I
Yeah.
wouldn't be maintaining my weight if it wasn't for still having you. Like you
Hmm.
need that. You need to have that person that you can
You
be
do.
honest
Everyone
with.
needs it, really, forever. You need to have that accountability, and you and Nat are my accountability still. Like, obviously,
Yeah.
poor Debbie probably doesn't still want to hear from me 11 and a half years down the line, but me and her, I do still talk to her, obviously, but me and her are in different stages of our life. Whereas I feel like me, you, and Nat are in that similar kind of era, and we get it, and
Hmm.
we all help each other. And you just need that soundboard, don't you? Somebody that understands. We all send the same sort of messages. We have bad days and good days or whatever, and you just need that person to support you and just have someone to be able to talk to.
100%. And someone you can be honest with. Like, you
Mm,
just need some people. Like, I know I could say anything to you in that, like
yeah.
anything at all, and there would be no judgment. I wouldn't feel the need to explain myself. And once I've got it out, it's then not festering in my mind and then
Yeah.
leading me down a path that my mind doesn't want to go. I think,
Hmm.
bad habits thrive in secret, right? Very few
I
of us
really
have
want to
got
sing
bad.
Bad Habits. Sorry. I was
I
like,
know,
Bad
sorry.
Habits.
But
Sorry.
But
Good
they
effort.
they do. They really do. And I think that a lot of the time the problem that we will have is that we just don't talk about it. Like we don't talk
Hmm.
about weight issues. We don't talk about using food as an emotional crutch. We do surface level. We go,
Yeah.
oh yeah, I'm an emotional eater. But what we don't do is say, I really want to go to the shop and just buy whatever and just like disassociate and binge out and not have to think about life today.
Hmm.
Or after the fact, we don't say, "Oh, I ate so much the other day that I literally was nearly sick because I was so full."
Mm.
Like, you know, and I felt really bad afterwards. And these are I felt shame that I did this to myself. I felt embarrassed. Like, we don't go any deeper than, oh yeah, I was stressed, so I had a takeaway.
Mm.
Like, no, come on, keep going. Like, you were
Yeah.
stressed, so like,
Why?
what
What?
happened?
Why did you
What?
choose that? Yeah.
Yeah, why were you stressed? What was that trigger? What happened in the lead up to it? And I've got, if I do say so myself, an incredible worksheet linked in the bio of my Instagram that
Mm.
helps you identify your triggers, the current behaviors that happen because of the triggers, and then solutions that you can put in place. And that's, I think, what's
Amazing.
important. It's finding the behavior, the triggers. So if
Mhm.
I'm stressed, stress doesn't make me eat. Like, saying I'm stressed, so I eat, they are linked, but we're missing a piece of the puzzle. And that is normally what behaviors happen when you're stressed. So then, for example, I'm not sleeping well. So then it's not just that I'm stressed, I'm knackered, I'm overwhelmed,
Mm.
I haven't got the energy to think about what I'm going to make. Well, good
Mhm.
news, products are really simple. Um,
Yeah.
or it could be that whenever I'm hormonal, I know I talk down to myself loads. I become really
Mm.
self-critical. And then that is what draws me to go to food. And I think unless you can take yourself to the pain point, you can't, one, move forward and gain more control over it. But two, you're constantly going to be questioning your relationship with how you eat and food and all the rest of it, because you're always focusing so much on the food element instead of what's actually driving the behaviors of
Yeah.
turning to food.
Mhm.
Get off my soapbox now.
I love it. I could relate to all
Thanks.
of that.
But then it's like we all can. So it's like, if everyone
Yeah.
can relate to it, then like start talking about it. Like, it will
Yeah.
make so much difference. The freedom and liberation you will feel from just being able to speak and get it off your chest is huge. And you only need one person. You only need one person that you can do that with. And if
Mhm.
you're on plan with us, then you've got a completely non-judgmental, lovely little safe place that you can say all the things to. And we'll probably nod along and go, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I get that. I get that. So we've got one last question. This
Mhm.
one is juicy and
It's
could
because they
be
were
quite,
anonymous.
it's because they're anonymous. So this one is a bit juicy, and we're not going to shy away from questions. Like, when we say to you, send us in any dilemmas and questions, it can be anything. We will not shy away from it. So here it is. Trigger warning, there's a swear word at the beginning.
Oh,
So, am I the arsehole? Arsehole's a swear word, isn't it? Yeah.
not really, but it
I
is. Yeah.
mean,
Not for
depending.
me.
My
Yeah.
my mum would have got you in church repenting for that. Um, because I hate seeing consultants doing a step 1B reset when they're clearly not following their own guidelines of the plan, i.e., step 2 or above for a stone away from a healthy BMI. It boils my piss.
Well, do you know what? I actually really agree with that.
Yeah, I
I
do.
really do. I see it a lot, and this has been happening a long time for me. I've been seeing this since the early days of Instagram or social media in general. It boils my piss because I just think you can't have one bit of advice for yourself as a consultant if we've got a medical protocol that we do stick to, and I do feel like
Hmm.
I'm very strict with that. Always have been, and yeah, it's a hard one. It does annoy me quite a lot, and it does happen a lot as well.
I know, and I think there's a amount of um and also, just disclaimer, if for any other consultants listening, this is no shade at anybody in particular. This is just covering the
No.
broader topic of it. But there's a frustration as well, because I'm like, I want to, and I know people out there want to see after
Mhm.
this bit. Like,
Mhm.
we want to see what, like we were just talking about there, managing food, right? And managing food
Yeah.
long term. Like,
Yeah.
as an individual, I want to help people end the diet cycle
Mhm.
long term. And I feel like if you then see people kind of promoting on
Mhm.
and off, on and off, on and off, that is damaging. That is damaging.
It is.
And it kind of, if you're somebody who's doing plan and maybe you've come off and then you restarting again, it doesn't give you much hope that there's going to be a place where you don't have to continually do that.
Mm.
And it
I
it
know.
keeps people maybe trapped in something that we try so hard to say to break it. Now,
Yeah.
I'm going to caveat what I'm saying here, or I'm going to add
Mhm.
a different element that perhaps we also need to consider. And that is whenever you look at people that have lost a large amount of weight, and majority of people on this plan are losing a significant amount of weight, normally 3 stone plus, which is a
Mm.
significant amount of weight.
Mhm.
And if you look at research into long term weight maintenance post large weight loss, there is
Mhm.
evidence to suggest that if people have lost their weight, a substantial amount of weight, and then go on to a quote unquote normal eating pattern, whatever that is for them,
Mhm.
if over the time, it was a 5-year study that was carried out, if over that 5 years they saw their weight increase, I think it was by 3 kg, so about half a stone. If their
Mhm.
weight went up by half a stone, if they did 2 weeks on a VLCD diet like ours, then worked back through the steps again to recorrect not recorrect the behavior, but just reinstill the good behavior patterns with food
Yeah.
that they had,
Yeah.
then a huge proportion of the candidates of that study maintain majority of their weight loss 5 years
Mhm.
later. So
Mhm.
there is definitely a an argument to be had that
Yeah.
actually using it in short, sharp bursts. It should also be noted though that the average participant only did that once a year. So it was like
Mhm.
once a year they just reset things, which I think is quite.
Mhm.
We all have a bit of a reset in January typically anyway. Yeah, me. Um, but there is an argument to be said that it can be beneficial for long-term weight maintenance in the same way that you will see maybe some people doing like a 5-2 diet where they would
Mhm.
maybe have like a lower calorie volume on the 2 days. And but that's normally a VLCD level calories for two
Yeah.
days, like 800 to 1,000, and then they'd eat normally the rest of the week. The
Yeah.
issue isn't that. That isn't the issue, doing it in that
Mhm.
way. I think what the question and what we're referring to is the kind of every other month, like
Mhm.
going,
Very, yeah, it's up and down yo-yoing a lot, isn't it? And I think the sad thing is though, I feel like we do understand that. We've all had that urge when you've been on holiday to come home and quickly do 1B because you think, oh, I need to do it. I've lost control.
mhm,
But there is absolutely no need to do 1B. We know that. You know, you might have gained 4 pounds, 5 pounds, even half stone on holiday. There is absolutely no need to go to 1B. We know that if you do step 5 even, you'll probably drop that 4 pounds in a few days and it's fine. But
yeah,
again, we've learnt that. I think before I learnt that, I still had those urges and I still hear all the time it is the top it's basically what everyone naturally wants to do. It's like it pulls you in that direction. I have to restrict, I have to
yeah,
restrict. And I feel like that's what we work so hard against and trying to teach all of our clients and all of our followers to not do that. It's quite frustrating when you see trained consultants doing it over and over and over again when we know that actually that is against protocol. If you're not technically classed as overweight, you can't do step 1B unless you're at least a stone over a BMI of 25. Um, so yeah, it's frustrating more than anything, and it can be quite damaging because people are going to watch that and think that that's okay, and obviously we're working really hard to kind of go against that.
that's it. But like you said, it's not surprising. We get the mindset. Like we've
I
both
wanted
been
to do
there,
it,
and
yeah, yeah,
yeah, like we've both been there. 1B is a safe haven place. You don't have to think about food and all the rest of it. And if we look at my Instagram reel yesterday about like the 2000 toxic diet culture we've all been fed for years and years and years, that has been the mindset.
yeah.
We were plagued with detoxes and cabbage
Mm.
soup diets and all these ridiculous faddy diets that were like do them quickly, lose weight really quickly, but the problem is that we're not doing what we need to do afterwards so that that isn't a cycle. And by engaging in that or by seeing that, you are perpetuating a side of
Well,
the diet industry that I think a lot of us really hate.
and our plan then gets kind of tarred with the same brush because it is
Yeah,
like,
it
oh, it's
does.
just that quick fix, it's that fad, and it's not.
It's
Yeah,
not. Don't get
I
me wrong. If you've got a stone to lose, you can lose that stone quick. Say you've got a stone to lose, you're less than a stone over like a healthy BMI. That in itself is problematic, but you're in that category where 1B or 1A isn't suitable.
yeah.
Come on in. I have got step 2 for you. I've got step 3 for you. I did step 3 as a reset in January, not last one, the one before.
Mm.
Lost a stone in a month. I didn't have,
Same
and
as
I
me, yeah.
knew I didn't need to do I knew if I went back onto 1B, it would be so damaging from the mindset that I have worked so
Mm,
hard to get to. It just wasn't worth it. And also the risk that you have then is like I was talking about that study where people were doing that kind of maybe once a year as a reset and reinstilling those
mm,
guardrails and boundaries. You risk it not being like that and it actually just being used as a way to perpetuate binging and restricting just
yeah.
constantly, forever,
Hmm.
and just going back and forth on that cycle, which is the cycle we all hate. We don't want to be there. It's not good for us. It's not good for our mindset. And so the only way you can break that is by pushing against the urge to go back on
Mm,
those low, low steps.
mm.
And like I said, it is no shade to anyone because we get it, we've been there, but it is an important thing that we speak about because it's clearly something that people see in the
Yeah, well,
community.
that's the good thing about these anonymous messages. You get a kind of overall idea of what people see and what they think. I think it's really good. That's what I love doing, the anonymous ones on mine.
I
You have to
love
be a little bit
them.
brave to do them, but I feel like you get to see what they think of you and how people interpret your page, and I think it's really insightful. I like them.
I do. And luckily for us, we have got many more questions in the question bank.
Yeah.
And so we are going to be bringing you a Dieter Dilemmas maybe maybe once a month, maybe every other
Hmm.
week. We're going to get feedback on this episode. Give us your feedback on the episode. Have you liked it? And how often would you like to see it? Would you like to see
Hmm.
these really regularly, or would you prefer us to do more single topic based episodes where we kind of go deep diving into one topic overall and kind of have these like I say, once a month or every other week?
Hmm.
We want to know. Leave a comment. Let us know what you're thinking. Obviously, you can follow us both on socials, where we will be posting the links you'd send more of your dilemmas over every week. So if you have got one, then please do send it over. And also, please make sure to like, follow, subscribe, do all the things, share all the love, because it means the world to us. Like, genuinely means the absolute world to us. And we love this podcast so much. And your engagement really, really helps push it out to more people so we can try and get the message across that you can lose weight, you can build a better relationship with food, and you don't have to be stuck in that diet cycle going round and round and round like a hamster for the rest of your life. But that is all from both of us for now. It's goodbye from me.
And goodbye from me.
And we will speak to you all again very soon. Bye.